It's actually pretty funny because at one point in this movie, Josh Hartnett makes a comment about how this Lady Raven character has so many teenage girls devoted to her she could start her own cult. Wonder where they got the inspiration for that. Alright, so we got a new release this week known as Trapped, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, starring Josh Hartnett. Shyamalan hasn't made a good movie since Split, and that was like 2016. So his record is really against him, and going into this, I tried to avoid the trailer like the plague. I didn't want to know anything about it. And of course, I go to see Fly Me to the Moon with a buddy of mine last month, and they play the trailer for this right in front of that one, and I was worried that they had given away the twist like my friend told me he thought they did. And thankfully, that's not it. Because whatever they showed in the trailer was just premise. It's not giving away the twist. There is a twist at the end like there is with every Shyamalan film, but it's not what the trailer showed. So the premise here is Josh Hartnett is this dorky kind of dad, takes his daughter to a Lady Raven concert, who's meant to be like this film's version of Taylor Swift, basically. She's this super famous pop star, and she's played by none other than the director's daughter. And this film is actually meant to promote his daughter's singing career. Alright, that feels a little superficial, doesn't it? So Josh Hartnett takes his daughter to this concert, she's super amped and super excited, and then all of a sudden notices there's all these security guards around, and it turns out that they are here because they heard that a serial killer known as the Butcher is going to be in this theater, and they've set a trap for him, hence the title of the film. And of course it is revealed within the trailer and within the first 15 minutes of the movie that Josh Hartnett is indeed playing the Butcher. He is posing as a normal guy, kind of got this Patrick Bateman feel to him. Of course, because Shyamalan writes dialogue like he's never interacted with a human being before, it sounds even weirder than it's supposed to. And I would argue that some of these conversations are just so unrealistic that they're laughable. Now, overall, I thought Josh Hartnett gave a pretty good performance. And the girl who played his daughter, Ariel Donahue, I believe is her name, she was actually pretty convincing too. Not like, Oscar winning or anything, but yeah, she was pretty decent. I think the rest of the cast, regardless of how big or small the role was, they're okay. I'd say overall the film is pretty well paced. It doesn't have any moments where you feel like, okay, I'm bored, move on, let's get with it or anything. It doesn't ever drag really. However, I will say the last 20 to 30 minutes, there's just sections that it feels like the movie's going to end right here, and then all of a sudden they add another 10 minutes, and then it feels like it's going to end again, and then they add another 15 minutes, and they do that a couple of times, and it just feels a little off. I don't know, something about it just didn't work. I feel like this movie probably could have been trimmed down a bit. But yeah, getting to the believability of this film, you gotta suspend quite a good majority of your disbelief because nothing about this is realistic. So Josh Hartnett is giving a pretty solid performance, like I said, and as the film goes on, it gets progressively better in my opinion. But some of the lines he delivers are just so weird and so off-putting that a normal human being would hear that and go, "What's wrong with you?" He's trying too hard, and I get it. That's the whole character is supposed to be like, these dead eyes with a smiley face, but it just, I don't know, it came off kind of weird and kind of funny at times. There's a specific character in here who I'm not going to get into details, but let's just say they have a character in here who poses as an antagonistic force for Josh Hartnett's character, but this person is not given nearly enough screen time or fleshed out nearly enough as I would have thought. There's a couple other things going on with his character that they just don't really explore all that well, that kind of comes up once or twice, and then they try to connect it at the end, and it just seems a little weird. There's a couple of scenes where even Josh Hartnett's behavior is just so out of pocket, especially when you've got all these officers around and people you think would be on high alert looking for this killer guy, and nobody pays attention to the weird stuff he's doing or the mannerisms he gives off. It's just kind of ridiculous. But okay, I've harped on the movie a little too much. What did I like about it? I think it's well shot. I think it's well paced, like I mentioned. Josh Hartnett gives a pretty good performance. And overall, this was a decent M. Night Shyamalan film. This isn't the greatest film of all time or anything, but it was actually watchable. I did not care for The Visit. I did not care for The Last Airbender. I did not care for Glass. And I certainly did not care for Knock at the Cabin. I haven't seen Old, and I'm sure I'm missing one or two in there at some point. But the only Shyamalan films that I actually love are Split, Signs, and I think Unbreakable. Again, it's not amazing, but it's okay. Maybe I'm setting this a little bit higher because I expected a lot worse. But quite frankly, I got more enjoyment out of it than I expected to, and that's why I was like, all right, sure. And sure, maybe I'm thinking a little too comparatively in my head of, well, it's not as bad as that thing, so I guess by default that makes it good. It's like, no, there's still some clunky elements in here, and it's definitely not going to work for everybody. I've already heard a few reviewers that I listened to just totally tear it apart, and I mean, I'm not going to fault them for that, but I personally didn't have as big of an issue with it. Okay, I'm going to talk about spoilers really quick. So if you don't want anything ruined for you, there's your time code right there to my final thoughts on the film and my overall score. So click to that, and 3, 2, 1, spoilers begin now. So the dumbest part about all this to me is just how, like, people don't notice anything that this guy is doing. Like, he is so out there, and I get there's a ton of people around and maybe he's just blending in with the crowd, but at one point he was literally standing next to his daughter, and then he walked up to a woman and shoved her down a flight of stairs, and not even his daughter noticed. Like, what? Nobody saw this guy kind of lurking around this fire alarm, thinking about pulling it, but then not pulling it, but then thinking about pulling it, but then not pulling it. Nobody thought that was weird. And how did this whole thing with the fryer oil bomb even work? The girl literally is looking at it, and then it goes off, and then she's like, oh no, my face, ouch. It's like, really? You're gonna just stand there and watch as it explodes in your face? Again, I think Josh Hartnett's performance was really good, and as they go back to his house and you get the interaction with his family, I think his performance gets even stronger there. He's like really breaking out the crazy guy mentality, and I think the whole twist about how it was his wife who informed the police on all that was, I mean, let's say serviceable. I was wondering why they even knew. I was hoping they would give a good explanation to why they knew he was going to be there. It gets a little clunky, I will admit, but overall, not the worst twist I've gotten from a Shyamalan film before. So they have this like FBI profiler woman who's like this British doctor, psychologist type, and she definitely felt like a Dr. Loomis to Josh Hartnett's Michael Myers, and I was hoping that when she was introduced that they were going to kind of draw out some kind of dynamic between the two. Maybe she had some kind of connection with him, maybe she knew him or something like that, or maybe she was just going to, recognize something in him. I was hoping there'd be a deeper connection than what we got. She's just kind of there, she's orchestrating all this, and he's just trying to avoid her. It's that flat and that surface level. I wasn't all that impressed with how they handled it, and I was really hoping they would do more, especially with that whole he sees this old woman thing, and it's supposed to be his mom, and somehow this FBI woman was able to figure out that this guy had like a connection to his mom, like Norman Bates, and I'm just like, wait, this is too distant of a relationship between these two people in order for her to figure this out. Like, I understand these profilers are supposed to be good at their job and understand how these guys think, but like that seemed a little too precise, I guess, without actually knowing who this guy was or pinpointing everything about his life. They literally didn't even know what the guy looked like, and yet she was able to know exactly how to attack his psyche. That seems a little bit of a stretch to me. So yeah, this film is a total clunker, and you might not like it at all. You might be like, it's alright, and that's kind of where I'm at. So, quite frankly, I don't really have any qualms about giving this a 7 out of 10. I may seem like an apologist for a lot of this, seeing as how this movie is kind of dumb, especially in retrospect and saying all this out loud right now. But quite frankly, I'm not that offended by it, and I did have a good enough time with it. Like, there has been some serious misfires this year, and it was just nice to see not only a film that was okay, but a Shyamalan film that was okay. Again, maybe there's some bias in that, but that's how I'm feeling about it, so that's how I'm scoring it. So that about does it for my thoughts on Trap. It's in theaters right now. Go and see it if you want. Otherwise, you're probably going to find it on Amazon Prime or Paramount Plus or something in the next couple of months. So if you want to wait till then, you're not missing on a huge theatrical experience. Besides, Deadpool and Wolverine and Twisters are out right now, and I would say that takes priority if you're looking for something to actually celebrate in the cinema. Comment down below what you thought of the movie, whether you loved it or you hated it. I would love to see how people's opinions differ from mine. Give this video a like if you liked it. Click that subscribe button if you want more videos like this in your feed. I'm going to have a review for Harold and the Purple Crayon coming out pretty soon too. That should be a doozy, but we'll see how that goes. And also feel free to follow me on Letterboxd, Serialized, GG, Instagram. All that is down in the description below. But until next time, God be with you, and take care.